This is a special report from the networks of Indiana's News Center.
Good morning, I'm Ryan Elijah in the newsroom. In just a moment, Allen County Sheriff Ken Freeze will be updating the media following last night's gruesome discovery. The body of 9-year-old Aliana Lemon was found dead. Her remains found around 9 p.m. last night. 39-year-old Michael Plumadore is preliminarily charged with murder. Now, the sheriff says that Plumadore was arrested after he gave information about her death during questioning yesterday. This is after denying it just 2 days before. He did take a polygraph test. Those results have not yet been released. Now, the motive for her murder is still under investigation. We do want to warn you as we go to that press conference in just a moment that certainly parts of this could be graphic, so keep that in mind. I've just been reading the probable cause affidavit. There are certainly some gruesome parts. What we can tell you is he admitted to killing the young 9-year-old around the early morning hours of the 22nd by repeatedly hitting her in the head with a brick. He then dismembered that body, and then it was on the 26th, after meeting with police for a second time, even a third time, that police were then led to his freezer where they discovered that. That led to last night, of course, the arrest. Shortly after meeting with him about 8 o'clock, 9 p.m. came that arrest. He did have his initial court appearance this morning. He was fully shackled. They had extra security there as well, just making sure everything went smoothly in a case that has not only sat in the community, but certainly has been on the national radar for just a heartbreaking community story around Christmas time. We hope to learn more answers during this news conference. We can tell you also that an autopsy was scheduled to begin about 25 minutes ago on the body of Aliana Lemon, and that was supposed to take about 3 hours. So they are in the early stages of that. What they will likely pinpoint then is the exact cause of death, also see if it matches up with the timeline that's been given to them. They've received a number of different timelines. Keep in mind, if it is alleged that she died early the morning of 22nd. It was nearly 48 hours before then she was officially reported missing. He claims that it was the next day when he actually hid the body, and then the mother realized later that night that the body was missing. Let's go right now to Sheriff Ken Freeze in the Allen County Sheriff's Department.
Once again, we're having a press conference in reference to Aliana Lemon and the recovery and the case as it progresses. With me is John Brandenburger, the coroner for Allen County, and Mike McAlexander from the prosecutor's office. You guys have the probable cause in front of you from this morning when he appeared in court, which I think has more information than what you were given last night. I can tell you, the process we have in this country is with the judicial system is we release what we have to release as it comes to the courts. There's a process to do this because we have to worry about a criminal prosecution in the future. As parents, as investigators, we would love to be able to say more, but we can't. We have to limit what we say to basically what you have in the probable cause. You guys are free to ask questions to the coroner and the prosecutor's office at this time, but like I say, we cannot give a whole lot more information.
Can you talk about what the motive is?
We can't discuss the motive.
Do you know one?
No.
Any sign of sexual assault?
Can't discuss that at all.
We obviously are reading these, what are very disturbing details in this probable cause. Can you just yourself discuss what new information was released today that we now have in our hands?
I believe in the probable cause you have the stuff that we couldn't talk about yesterday, but now that's made public to the courts, is the dismemberment of the body. And anything referring to the body, I refer to the coroner's office. They can answer questions about that. That is probably the most striking thing that you're going to find in the probable cause that we couldn't discuss until it came out in court.
Can you discuss what exactly caused her death?
We are in the process, even at this moment, of conducting forensic autopsy on the remains of the little girl that was found yesterday. The identification of any deceased individual is done in a scientific manner, and that identification will be confirmed at a point either today or soon after today. All of the information with regard to Aliana that has been discussed and found through the investigation and through the evidence that has been collected at multiple scenes last night is consistent with it being Aliana. However, identification is not based on circumstance or investigation or hearsay. It's based on scientific evidence. And we will be obtaining that evidence for positive identification today.
Can you discuss what difficulty this might pose for in your job when you have a dismemberment of this severity?
Well, there is a difficulty on the scientific level and on the actual autopsy, the difficulty with that. And then any investigator is also a family person. And there's the emotional difficulty and just lots of feelings that come up inside that we put behind and step forward in a forensic way to do the job that we need to do for the sheriff and the prosecutor to do the job that they need to do. And so we set those emotions aside and keep moving a step at a time.
We understand it's so early in your investigation, but at this moment, do you believe you are going to be able to determine a manner of death at some point in this case?
Yes, the duty of the coroner's office by state statute is number one, to determine the identification of the deceased individual. The second is to determine the cause of death. And the third is to determine the manner of death. And I feel confident by the end of the day, we will be able to accomplish what we wish to and need to accomplish.
Mike Plumadore, he did have a bit of history, violent history, he had battery on an officer. But this is a very dramatic move from battery on an officer to dismembering a 9-year-old girl. What causes, if you can talk about that, someone to go from that severity to the other?
We can't speculate on any motives. We are under obligations, trial rules through the Indiana Supreme Court regarding what we can disclose and what we can't disclose. Our goal is not to inflame this anymore than just describing what the court procedures will be. The next step in that, which is this Friday, we have 72 hours to file formal charges. So we are in the process of reviewing all the work that was done over the weekend, and we will have those formal charges ready to go by the end of the week.
Rebecca?
Mike answered one of my questions. My other question is kind of an odd one maybe, but this is drug on now for days. Men and women gave up their holiday to go looking, and people in the community as well, but primarily law enforcement, firefighters. There were detectives, human beings, who found this last night.
Correct.
What steps are you, as the head of the Sheriff's Department, taking to make sure everybody's doing okay?
They're offered, and we can't force anything, they're offered to seek whatever. We have an employee assistance program to talk to someone, because this is difficult to go through. I mean, we have a job, as the coroner's office has said to do, and we try to put that aside, but at some point, you have to make sure that that gets taken care of. So we have, right now they're being debriefed, and there's an employee assistance program that they can take advantage of. If they need to, we just make sure that they know they're aware that they can use it.
Sheriff, did he say why he kept parts of the body?
No, and we can't discuss that.
Did he specify, I mean, the homicide's one piece, but why the dismemberment?
More that we can't discuss. There's a natural progression for the information to come out through the courts, and that's what we have to do, because we really have to, like I say, we would love to be able to say more, we just can't. We don't want to jeopardize that case as it moves forward in the court process. At the end, we need to have a successful prosecution in this case.
You said that a brick was used. Do you have that brick?
I can't discuss what evidence has been collected and hasn't. The investigation continues and will continue on past the 72 hours.
Did you feel in your gut that it was Plumadore?
Yeah, from the beginning, there were too many inconsistencies with the story that I knew, and I think some of the investigators knew, that he was the focus, that we needed to make sure that we kept with him and kept on him, because that's where the information was going to come from.
And then talk about what it was like when he gave you his confession, staring him in the eye.
And you know, there were two detectives in the room with him, one FBI agent and one of ours, and they did an unbelievable job. They had to sit there kind of stone-faced, listening to this man talk about what happened. Very difficult for them.
What was his demeanor like?
He was very factual.
Just cold, emotionless?
Very factual.
Did he seem sad at all? Did he?
He just gave us the facts.
What is it like to see something like this? I mean, you see a lot of things every day, but something like
Right,
this.
and this, you know, we are family members. I mean, we have kids of our own, and it certainly takes you back to that. So the officers, we're not superhumans. So if they need help, they'll get it. It's difficult.
Sheriff, was he under the during the crime under the influence of drugs or alcohol or anything of those?
Once again, we can't discuss that. Anything will come out in court as we progress. I'd love to be able to say more.
For the coroner, are you doing a toxicology screen at all on the victim?
Autopsy is done in several stages. The first is what we say the gross stage, where we look at the evidence, trace evidence. The second stage is any toxicology that can be done if needs be. And then the third stage is all of the microscopic examination of individual organs and tissues obtained, determining time and extent of injuries. We say whether acute or old injuries, looking at any other possible disease process of organs. That's all the microscopic stage. The whole process takes up to a month. The gross phase of the examination will be completed today, hopefully.
So you guys are self-visiting?
And we are going to return you to a regularly scheduled programming. Of course, we have a crew inside the sheriff's office, so we talked about graphic details, and it does not take much to get the sense that as disturbing as those details are, there are more to come and likely more charges as well. They're working under the system. If that system requires them to give information, they will do that. As Sheriff Freeze said, prosecution is the main concern right now. What they did stress, they can't discuss motive or sexual assault right now. Of course, we'll have much more on the death and what's going forward now today at noon. We now return you to regular programming.